Founder Report, Season 1, Episode 22, the Happy Birthday Simon Special.
Very great. Yeah, not that I need to be reminded that I've just got a year older. Good afternoon, folks.
Happy birthday, Simon.
Thank you very much. And thank you for the splendid little cake, which I'm glad is little, since I'm trying to remain self-like. You're going to tell me now that I failed miserably.
I'm going to tell you, you don't have to worry about it today.
So
today's your special day. You get to eat cake, do whatever you like. I hope you've had a nice day so far, and that Matt is taking good care of you.
There's a small altercation with the neighbour. Matt's off to work. 61 today. 60.
It's like Sweet 16, but reversed.
Yeah, well, it's obviously
sour 61.
Yeah, sour 61 rather than sweet.
I wonder if is that a thing?
Is it what?
So why is it Sweet 16? So if there's a Sweet 16, there must be a sour 61.
Well, I don't know.
If there isn't, we've created it.
Well, it could be. There you are. Could be a first.
Could be a first. The
yes.
sour 61s.
Sour 61s. Some might argue I've always been sour. The resting bitch face.
That's me.
Do you have a resting bitch face?
I think so.
Do you? Have other people asked you this question?
I don't see enough people to be.
You don't. Oh, you're.
I'm just assuming
similar to me that you have. Generally, you prefer to be apart from the rest of the human race.
Possible.
And given a chance, as long as it had the appropriate services attached, you'd be happy on a desert island, all on your own. Near enough.
I question whether I could do it.
You question whether you could do it.
It's interesting. I'd like to know whether I could survive on a desert island for a month or something like that.
What, surviving? What point? With having to actually
exist on a desert island? Could you
fish and make fire and?
Yeah, sort of psychologically.
Pull in the bushes. Psychologically, yes, I could.
Yeah, but you say that, but you've never done it.
Well,
my point is,
I've had periods of long solitude, and I have no issue with it. I can quite happily poodle along. But then, of course,
yeah, but there's a difference because you can always go somewhere or meet someone.
Correct.
If you're on a desert island, it's literally you, and that's it. And I think it's a very different paradigm, isn't it? It's a very different thing. Right?
Well, it is. But if it's got a nice beach and a nice stretch of water and everything else, it's a paradigm marker,
If we were on a desert island together, would we survive? Or would we kill each other?
Well,
what would be worse? Being on a desert island by yourself or being on a desert island with me?
Folks, I can't answer that, otherwise it'll be the end of Series 1 and all further series.
It's an interesting question.
Obviously, I'm picky about people. I'm picky with friends. I have few friends. So you should take from that something. And obviously, having been married for a long time, I would say I'm easy to get along with.
For the most part.
I don't. I have very little. I could say angst where we have very little angst where me and my partner are concerned.
So
we're not one of those. We're not one of those people, couples that go out to dinner and then ruin everybody else's evening because we're bickering. And we've all come across those people, haven't we?
Yeah.
You're at the dinner table with a party and it's like, here we go. It's all going to kick off. But there you go. I could quite happily exist with few of the human race, especially given this week. So for my birthday special, it's going to be sort of a little self-indulgent because we're going to talk about various things. We're going to talk about me until I go, enough about me. Let's talk about you. Have you read my autobiography?
Not yet. When are we going to start doing that, by the way? excerpts of your book.
When I actually get down to writing a bit more, I've been very lazy over the summer, notwithstanding quite a few trips away
and Simon's back troubles recently as well.
Oh, God, that does not put a hole in things, because I find it very difficult to concentrate on anything when
your back's in spasm. I'm not surprised.
Yeah, and it's pretty painful. You don't quite know what to do with yourself, and it's when you try and get up. You know, I'm sure everybody's who's had a bad back understands this. You know, they suddenly you find the littlest thing is very challenging. You know, i.e., putting your socks on, and you have to do this sort of backward somersault on the bed and hope that the sock, the way you've gathered it, can suddenly get on the foot while you're in the backward motion, because you can't reach it without doing some kind of gymnastic.
Thankfully, I haven't turned 61 yet, and that hasn't been an issue.
Well, I've always had issues with my back. Not least, I broke it 23 years ago. So in two places. So that kind of
doesn't help, does it?
It doesn't help. But yeah, it's it'll pass. It's just annoying, very annoying.
Back to the subject.
Back to the subject. So today's a salient problem. Well, I thought we'd start with the sort of continue on from where we left off, because obviously since we did the God Bless Her Majesty and Long Live the King, although bless him, the amount of work that he's had to do the last few days involved in following processions and just about visiting God knows how many different places and doing all sorts of bits and pieces. He'll have had enough of the job by Christmas.
Where's he gone so far? He's gone to Scotland and Northern Ireland, that's it. And then back to Buckingham Palace.
Well,
and then he sacked half of his staff because they were no longer used. Yeah, Clarence House. What a shameful thing to do.
It's made a lot of people angry, hasn't it?
Can you imagine?
You're no longer required.
They spend weeks.
Here, I'll have a bit of my mother's Tupperware as a leaving present.
Those poor people spend weeks working tirelessly since the Queen's passed to get everything ready for him.
Yeah.
To be told a day or two ago, you're no longer needed because obviously there's not enough, or there's not enough.
There's one less of us.
Well, yeah, there's not enough space in Buckingham Palace, so therefore a lot of those same sort of, what do you call them?
Roles.
So yeah, exactly. Same roles are no longer needed. So sorry, but there's going to be a bit of a shift around, and some of your jobs are no longer needed.
Fired.
In
true sort of Alan Sugar, you're fired.
It's not nice. I
think it's pretty terrible, isn't it?
I showed you the video of Prince Charles berating a member of staff over the pen.
Oh yeah, that's a bit.
Because first time round, the pen was in the wrong place. And
he
motioned like that for the pen to be moved. And then...
What, you mean he couldn't get up and go, let's have a look and do a little scribble to see if that one works okay? No, I need a new ballpoint or a new fountain pen.
And then the second pen started to leak.
Oh.
And then he got really angry.
It's a bit sad, isn't it?
It's a bit of a worry for the rest of us. If this is what
it is already. If he gets stressed out over
a leaky pen.
Leaky pen. I mean, crikey. There wasn't a school day that I attended without coming home with ink stains all over my digits.
Doesn't sound right.
Well, because we used a fountain pen at school. It was obligatory.
Being a left-hander, that was difficult for me because you'd have to find a way to adjust your hands so you weren't dragging the ink across the page.
Never thought of that.
Yeah, well,
I've never considered that possibility.
You have to be a left-hander to understand these things.
Yes. And you're not ambidextrous?
When it comes to writing, I'm not.
No, okay.
That's not true. When I broke my hand, I was forced to write with my right hand.
There you go, you see.
So I learnt, but it was only out of pure necessity.
See, I can write with both hands. It's just that if I write with the right hand, It's fine. If I write with the left hand, nobody can read it, not even myself.
That's not writing then, is it? That's not you being ambidextrous if you can't read what you write on with your left hand side, you moron. That's
anyway,
the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard.
So we've had a few days. Obviously, there's been hordes and hordes and hordes. I've been shouting at the telly a lot, as I've built up to being 61. Because every morning I turn the TV on, or if I turn the TV on during the day to look at the news, the only news I've been seeing, folks, is a hearse travelling the motorways of Britain. And it's been relentlessly followed by cameras and people. You don't even know if she's in the box in the back.
It's like a rat chasing cheese.
A rat chasing cheese.
Like a rat will follow anything for cheese. So if a cheese is sort of being thrown over a cliff, it would probably like jump over to try and catch it. The same kind of feeling.
Rats like cheese. I know mice like cheese.
Rats like cheese too.
Rats like cheese too. Okay.
But anyway,
so in other words, you're describing the British people as rats, or the media. Oh, okay. Catfish. And the Queen as being a bit cheaty. Or if she's in the back of that box for any more days, she might end up that way. It's a good job we haven't got a heat wave.
Yeah.
But is she really in the box?
I doubt it.
Because I find it rather. I don't know about you. I'm slightly weirded out by the fact that all these hordes of people are queuing to file past a coffin. It's just a box. And as I said the other day, I loved our dear departed Queen. I'm not perhaps as avidly royalist as a lot of people. But the point is, I find no necessity whatsoever to be queuing for hours, or days, potentially even days on end, in the pouring rain, as some have, waiting to have my 30 seconds shuffling past a box with a flag on it. It doesn't make any sense. Let alone...
by the way.
Yeah.
Really funny thing that we were talking about the other day when we did our last podcast, and we were wondering.
I'm 61. I can't remember what we were talking about.
We're saying that when the Queen is placed in the coffin, whether she would have any of her royal jewels on.
Oh right, okay.
And in one of the papers, they actually said clearly they wouldn't do that, but she will have like a pearl necklace and a pair of earrings on, but that's it.
So who's going to give her a pearl necklace?
Don't. So all the nice stuff gets sort of taken back into the royal possession.
Well, yeah.
And the other interesting
thing... She's only a kind of guardian of it, isn't she?
Yeah. The other interesting thing is that now the Queen has passed away.
Stolen from elsewhere. Yeah, go on.
Now the Queen has passed away, and Prince Charles obviously takes the monarchy and all of its assets.
Yes.
He doesn't have to pay inheritance tax.
Yes, so I've heard. Well, of course, that
motherfucker.
Well, that kind of makes sense. Can you imagine?
It kind of makes sense.
There's nothing left.
What about the rest of us? That's exactly right. In 2003, they
don't mind the rest of us having nothing left when we pass on. Should we have enough to be able to for our
a bill was passed in 2003.
Inheritance tax to be applied, but
so a bill was passed in 2003.
Yes.
That ensured that the royal family would not have to pay inheritance tax. The point was if there was a case where two monarchs died within a short period of time, it would wipe out 2/3 of the estate, which they said would be unacceptable.
Oh, of course it would.
But even so, it would still pass to the government.
Yes.
So it's not like it's going to someone else.
Well, what happens? Okay, let's just have a little principle going on here. So, what happens if replicated to normal people, somebody well off, maybe with a £1 million home, and they died, and then the person it was left to died? Then there'd be two lots of inheritance tax.
You know, it gets worse than that, though. There would be two sets of inheritance taxes, but it gets worse than that. Because do you know what happens if someone passes away and their assets aren't claimed?
Yeah.
Do you know who it goes to?
The government, I guess.
No,
Who does it go to?
the crown. It goes to the crown.
Yeah. So think on, ladies, gentlemen, boys and girls.
I hope there are no boys and girls watching.
And however you wish to view yourself, that when you're filing past that wooden box, should you be choosing to do so, or sticking your marmalade sandwich to the gates of Buckingham Palace, which I find truly bizarre, basically, if you don't sort out your finances and you peg it, you'll be handing your money
to the king, to Prince Charles,
to King
Charles. Sorry.
Yes.
That won't be the first time that I do that.
There'll be a lot of people.
How often will that happen? Like when King Charles has to like give MBEs and OBs and stuff like that, and someone accidentally goes, "Oh, thank you so much, Prince." Oh shit.
Well, I hope he's been practicing that.
Oh no, don't worry. It's King
to
Charles
lift
now.
the sword and not just go across at speed. When he's giving somebody a knighthood, it's like, oh, I've done it wrong again.
Would you accept it? Would you accept a knighthood?
Hey, would I say? Well, the likelihood of me being offered a knighthood, especially after the last
for services to podcasting.
Well, I think the chances of that are fairly.
Would
I accept a role? I don't think I would actually, and do you know why? I think I don't know. That's a tricky one.
My only issue.
That's a tricky one. I wouldn't want to sit here and say no. I definitely wouldn't accept it. Because then I might find myself with it dangled in front of me going,
yeah, ooh.
Fuck it.
Yeah.
I'm having that. It's worth a bit of kudos. Sir Simon Charles Stanley Randall.
It's got a nice ring to it, though, doesn't it?
It's not a bad ring. It's not it could be better. I was never...
Could be better.
Well, I've never been...
What would you prefer?
But I've never been keen on the
names.
Baron Randall.
Viscount. What's the order of that? Baron, Viscount?
I don't know.
Marchioness?
Well, I could be. Could be a Duchess.
Duke.
Could you think I could be? Dame Simon.
I'd like to be a Viscount. How do you become a Viscount? That sounds like one of those. I want to be a Viscount.
I'm not entirely sure. I know my father was kind of looking to our past, our ancestry, and thought we might be connected to the fourth Earls of Antrim. But
it's not Ireland.
It's Ireland, yes.
County Antrim.
Yes. But yeah, I mean, all fairly meaningless.
Yeah.
But hey, I mean, what do you kind of make of this? What has been since before the weekend? What one day is merging into another. When did she? Oh, last Wednesday. It's a week ago. It's a whole week, near enough.
And she gets better. The ceremony's on Monday, 19th. You won't even be here.
Aren't I lucky? Sorry. I'm so sad I won't be here. Yeah, no, I'll be lying on a fucking beach with a bit of luck. Weather permitting.
They might not allow you. They might force you to mourn in the hotel or something.
Oh, don't be ridiculous.
They could lock you in for the day. They might do that. They might just shut everything down.
Why would they do that?
I don't know.
It's in a different country.
Yeah, but still. You're a British citizen, aren't you?
Well, that's when I get my Canadian citizenship conveniently out the door.
Yeah, but that's
also... Passport shall I travel on? That's
also part of the Commonwealth. It doesn't help you either.
Oh, yes. Yes. But look, the fact of the matter is, we've had a whole week, and it has been, as I mentioned, but it's become more relentless.
And there's a bit of a somber mood around anyway. You notice, like, just walking around, everything's a bit sullen, everything's a bit quieter than usual.
Does it surprise you?
It could just be because it's September.
Kids have gone back to school. That cuts the noise level down.
Everyone's depressed.
Everyone's depressed because the
summer's over.
The summer's over, and they're staring down the barrel of a gun, namely the cost of living crisis. New energy bills coming.
Waiting to see what happens
to
October,
turn
November.
The heat on soon enough. You know, how long can they, keep it off for? And every time they go to the supermarket, the grocery. I mean, the groceries went up. Actually, inflation. Let's just quickly touch on inflation.
Inflation in the UK has gone down slightly to 9.9%.
Yes,
but it's still a huge amount.
Food inflation is up at 13%.
Okay, averaged out, it's 9.9.
Yeah, but food inflation up at 13%, and it's pretty well almost on a daily basis. You go to the supermarket, and the prices go up and up. It's relentless. The price increases are relentless. I mean, and this can't all be related, no matter what the likes of Truss and Company say. Is not all related to the Ukraine-Russia war. It's just cobblers.
Well, because it's worldwide as well, isn't it?
There is worldwide inflation, yes.
There's big issues in the US, big issues in Australia, New Zealand. China is about to implode.
Oh, well, good riddance.
The cost of pork is the highest it's ever been. And now the government is being forced to intervene to reduce prices, because obviously China is a large consumer of pork products. And actually whatever you were going to say, don't. And the largest producer of pork meat in the world.
Yeah.
No, it's a huge strain if you have such a big population eating loads of pork, and the cost of it keeps rising. The cost to produce it keeps rising.
Let them farm their own pigs.
That's what they've been doing.
Yeah,
that's the problem.
Yeah. I mean, our meat prices are just through the roof. I mean, there was a time I quite enjoyed a pork chop. No danger of getting dementia, of course, with the bacon.
Oh, with all the
barely afford to buy it. So yes, food inflation. That
solves that issue.
Food inflation. I mean, I was in the supermarket the other day. £5.50 for a tub of Lurpak. £3.49 for a bottle of ketchup.
Please inform the listeners, though, that you don't actually buy Lurpak. So what's the point of saying?
I don't buy Lurpak and I don't buy Heinz ketchup.
So
there you go. Can't afford it.
It doesn't affect you at all.
Well, no.
Right. Okay. So what sort of things do you buy that you've seen the prices go up? Cucumbers have gone up £1 each.
Yeah. Well,
and they were like 70p or 50, 60p in places.
Well, you're kind of used to sort of fruit and veg being talked, because it's not. I would imagine it's not been a great year for crops. Although I would have thought cucumbers are mainly grown indoors. But
they need a lot of water, don't they? That's the problem.
Yes, and it's been
like 80% water, right?
Yeah, and 90% tasteless. I've never understood the purpose of the cucumber.
I like it.
Not from
they're refreshing.
Eating point of view, anyway. I can't.
What other point of view is there?
Well, certainly not where I'm concerned. But the point is, I don't see the point of them. Tasteless bloody things.
Same family as watermelon.
I have the same opinion on watermelon. Overrated. Can't stand it.
Oh, what?
Yeah. It doesn't do anything for me. I'll have a glass of water.
It's one of my favourites.
Suck on this thing that
watermelons are amazing if you get good
out all those horrible little pips. Can't stick them. Can't stick what. I don't mind other melons. Watermelon, no. Cucumber, no.
You just don't like the watermelon family in general. We've established that. That's a shame.
Mr. and Mrs. Watermelon and the little watermelons.
What about courgette?
I know they're related.
Do you like those?
I'm not by marriage. Yeah, I don't mind a courgette. And I don't
That
mind.
also doesn't taste of much of anything either.
No, it doesn't. If you grill it, you have to put other flavour onto it. You know.
Maybe if you season the watermelon, you might like it better.
Yeah, but I just find watermelon. It just doesn't. It's very unappealing.
Fair enough.
I find it very unappealing. It's not. When somebody offers you watermelon as dessert, it's a bit of a cop out, isn't it? There's.
I'll know for next time you come over.
Yes.
Not
Please don't put fucking watermelon. Here we are. We're on a podcast and we're talking watermelons and cucumbers.
This is the worst podcast you've done so far.
No. Well, of course, it's my birthday. I'm going to be self-indulgent. So let's go back to the main subject. So, do you think, as I've made my first question for you, given the fact, putting aside cucumbers, courgettes, watermelons, and the like, given the fact that we've now had a whole week of following the Queen in a box around the British Isles, and a government that's now in the Parliament is now in recess again, is going to go into a further recess for the party conference season. Doesn't it feel rather though government is completely absent? I mean, we've not heard bugger all from the new Prime Minister over the last week. It's like she's been given a free pass to say nothing. Yet the reality is the country still needs running, and we do need to hear from her. We do need some semblance of her intention. Although I note under the radar of Her Majesty's passing that she has handed out licences for fracking. So, what do we make of this Prime Minister in absentia? I think in this period, do you think that things should have carried on?
I think it's probably necessary, right? Because she needs time to properly discuss matters with the cabinet to get her policies through, and she can't be doing that if she's always in the public eye. So maybe this is a good thing. So there's a period of quiet.
Well, there's a plus to it.
We didn't have to listen to her. But apart from that, she has a period to sort of really get the cabinet together, assess where things are over the next, up to 2024, probably try to get a date for an election. Because like you said, ideally before Christmas, likely before May,
even though
2023.
Even though she's claiming that she's not intending to do anything election-wise before 2024, I don't buy it.
No, neither do
I don't buy it.
It'll be a huge mistake.
I think they're toast whichever way they go. Unless she goes, I've said it before, unless she goes soon, she's toast. Nobody likes an elected leader that wasn't chosen by the wider public. Yeah. There is a real issue of, even though it's a parliamentary democracy, we've said this before, it somehow people do, feel as though the leader of that party that's in government needs to be rubber stamped, if you like, by the voting public.
So I don't think that she has that much time. I think there'll be a lot of pressure on her. Yeah. If not by Christmas, at least getting into January, February, where there'll be increased pressure to get this done, to call a snap election 6 weeks and then see where we are. Like you said, I'm in agreement that the likelihood is Conservative government will be out, and that will lead to at least one Labour term.
Well, we can.
Two, I think, is. Well, we'll have to wait and see.
Well, it's all going to be down to policy, isn't it? Let's be about it. I think she's already made the first fundamental errors. I think we spoke about this before. But I just find it a little bit when everybody is absolutely, how can I put it, cacking it with what's coming. I think would have preferred a government that was a bit more in touch in over the last week, because it does feel as though, although we know what's going to happen with the energy price cap, there's lots and lots of other issues that are vastly important that are being ignored, and of course largely have been ignored over the last week in the media. As I said, while the focus has been on everybody's little anecdote on the Queen and the whys and wherefores of queuing in the rain and sticking Paddington bears everywhere and flowers, and it's
the
all
sea
a
of flowers.
bit weird.
Yeah.
I just find that kind of.
They were saying 13 tons of wrapping paper for flowers that they had to pick up and recycle over the course of the last few days.
Right. Okay.
And just mounds and mounds of paper packed into plastic bags that they had to pick up and then throw away. It's like what a
fortune's worth of. Oh, one thing, the florists have been busy.
They're making an absolute killing.
Yeah, the only people that probably have.
King Charles hasn't done bad.
Well,
he's now inherited multi-billion-pound fortune.
Yeah. There's a big question, though. There's a big question hanging over it all.
Nostradamus says that he'd abdicate.
Who got the Tupperware?
Nostradamus claims that in one of his quaterns, that King Charles would abdicate, and it would lead to an unknown king. So that could be in our future. So Prince Charles abdicates because no one likes the guy, and there'll be an unknown king to take his place.
Well, we know
No, unknown, as in not who we assume.
What, as in not being William?
Yeah, an unknown king.
Well, the bound to be no, because obviously, unless you completely obliterated the entire royal family.
Yeah, maybe that happens, though. We don't know. Nostradamus got quite a few things right. This might be another one.
Yeah, but he got a lot. He got a lot of shit wrong.
Yeah, and he got a lot of shit right, didn't he?
Yeah,
this could be complete nonsense, but it could be true. We won't know until it happens. And if he gets it right, it'll be quite a thing, wouldn't it?
Well, I suppose, with everybody. Well, of course, with everybody go, there you go. You see, he was right. But how many times has he been wrong? And isn't it open to a lot of interpretation from the language used, that they somehow interpreted what he meant by it? I mean, he doesn't actually say.
No, some of them are quite accurate.
He doesn't, I mean, he knows that Charles going to be on the throne in 2022.
He does. He says Prince Charles. We'll have to look it up.
How fuck could he work that out? Come off it. When was Nostradamus around?
Long time ago.
Exactly. How would he have been able to? So of course it's not.
The next time.
I bet you're going to tell me next that he knew Charles was going to have a leaky pen on the sixth day of being king.
We're gonna do a Nostradamus show next time round, and we can show you all the things that he's actually foretold.
Yes. Ah, yeah. That fortune teller routine. So, with all this going on, obviously, whether she's in the box or not in the box, the funeral's on Monday. Centre Parks, of course, the thing with Centre Parks trying to chuck out all of their guests for 24 hours, which have relented.
But you turned out really quick, obviously.
Yeah, now you can stay in your chalet, you just won't get any service.
Yeah.
I mean,
what kind of stupidity is that?
What do we make? Well, this is the point. What do we make of the fact that there's all these reasons and excuse for everything to suddenly come to a complete
halt?
I mean, is it necessary? Would it be disrespectful if there was some normality in it all? I mean,
You know what it
could
is?
stop for a few hours for
No.
for the actual.
This is not the point.
Funeral, but
this
why?
is not the point. The point is that Monday's a bank holiday.
What is now?
It is now. So people want their day off.
It's all back to what we said before.
That's what we said last time. Right?
That's it.
People want their
The
day
most
off.
Googled question. Am I getting the day off?
People want their day off.
Yes.
So if you're trying to tell supermarket workers to go in on their day off,
yes,
this extra day off that we wouldn't have usually, they're not going to be like, yeah, fine, I'm going to go into work. They're going to be like, forget you, I'm taking my day.
Yeah, but you've got hotel workers. There'll be people staying in hotels. They'll have to work. The police have to work.
Most of the police will be out on the street handling the procession.
Yes, 10,000 police officers.
If
on
you're
the
a criminal
streets of London at the moment,
if you're a criminal
it's
out
a gift.
there, Bank Holiday Monday is the best day.
Yes,
because there's no one going to be around. If you want to go loot stuff, Monday's.
Do you know the vast majority of the police have been bussed in and coached in and from all parts of the British Isles, which I mean,
you better go robbing.
That's a mess in itself. If there's any joints you've cased, it's cased. We can have a go at.
No. I don't know what you're talking about.
Can we suddenly turn ourselves into, buy a couple of masks?
When you see a nice 50-inch TV on the back wall, you know what we've been up to.
We're not to. No, we jest, of course, but it does feel like it's going to cost the country a fortune. And don't get me wrong, I'm all for giving the lady a good send off, but I just find the this whole thing of people standing there day in day out in the rain to far past a coffin, sobbing their eyes out, all a bit. I mean, is it me? Is there something wrong with me that I?
There's plenty.
Am I heartless?
There's plenty wrong with you, but this is not.
There's plenty wrong with me. There you go.
This is not one
official.
of them. This is not one of them.
Yeah.
This forced mourning that we have to go through.
Yeah.
And why people get upset over the Queen passing, I don't know. Unless you knew her personally and had some sort of rapport with her, I get it.
Yeah.
But if not, what are you crying about?
Yes.
I don't understand it.
And this whole thing, as I said, of the Paddingtons and the marmalade sandwiches, I've seen more references to flaming James Bond, Paddington, and marmalade sandwiches than pretty well anything else. And the fact that she sat in Buckingham Palace with the 1-bar electric fire.
If you spoke to the general public and asked them, what did the Queen do in the past 30 years that benefited the country? Name me 5 things.
They'd be stuck.
Would you be able to? What would you say?
Your 5 things starts now. You're stuck.
I wouldn't know what to say.
Okay, well, I've got one. She allowed people to go around her house for a fee.
Okay.
Owned it to the public.
That was to get money.
She sliced a few cakes, cut a few ribbons, and
did she keep the Commonwealth together?
No.
Well, no, because a lot of them are looking to become republics anyway.
Yeah. She covered for her son who had dubious ties with dubious people.
And forked over millions to keep that quiet.
Yeah, she forked out 12 million.
What about during the war? During World War II?
Oh, bloody hell, no. I mean, she was just a youngster then, wasn't she? What did she do in the war? Well, I don't suppose she flew a Lancaster bomber. No. I don't know. I mean,
what does the royal family? What does the royal family do?
Well, they do. I'm sorry, but they do fuck all.
they engage in certain business activities, right? They like.
We're back to the fucking lemon melts again, aren't we?
No. but they'll go to sort of lots of different countries and try to sort of negotiate terms between different countries and sort of for the British interest. They push British industry. They try. I mean, obviously, I'm pretty sure they get a bit of money down the side to do it.
Yes.
But like Prince Andrew and Prince William would go to like different countries and sort of push like Rolls Royce and Jaguar and all these before Jaguar was owned by.
Yeah, but you know, surely the reality is, if the product was shit, i.e., if Jaguars were rubbish, some might argue they are, of course.
Well, they're not British anymore. First of all,
they're not. I don't suppose they are.
No, it's Indian owned, isn't it?
Is it Indian owned?
Yep.
Crikey. I never knew that. I didn't know that Jaguar was Indian owned.
We've got McLaren.
McLaren, I said. But and I assume you mean the motor company, not those that make the buggies for children. But surely, if the product's good, the country would buy it anyway. They don't need the king or queen or a prince to flog it to them. Yeah, if like the product was shit, the presence of King Charles, would it make any difference? It's like, yes, I know you're the king of England, but am I buying this car? No, it's crap.
No, but it's putting the royal seal of it, isn't it? It's like the royal seal of approval.
The seal of approval.
And that has...
By royal appointment.
But that has like a bit of weight across the world.
Does it?
Yeah.
So you're telling me whenever you're in the supermarket or buying something, that you're more inclined to buy it if it's got the royal appointment on it.
Well, really? Considering I usually shop at Fortnum and Mason's, most of it's by royal appointment anyway, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, I have to say I don't come across.
You must go to Fortnum and Mason's loads of times. Your partner works like 2 minutes away.
No. We went there.
You went for tea, didn't you? Once
on my 60th birthday. All that time ago, 1 year.
So last year you went to Fortnum and Mason's.
We went to Fortnum and Mason's for afternoon tea.
This year you get croissants by Melvin. Lucky you.
This year I'm shopping in Lidl. Last year, we went to Fortnum and Mason's for tea. Quite honestly.
I know, you weren't happy, were you?
I was very disappointed. Very disappointed. They lost my overcoat, and I have to say, I was expecting for such a...
Did you get your money back for that?
Well, no, they found it in the end.
Oh, right, okay.
But we had to go in the cloakroom. I mean, it's not a very good look, is it? You're in Fortnum and Mason's now. It's supposed to be a little bit zhushy and quite, and suddenly at the end of it all, they go, "We can't find your coat, sir." It's a bit. Would you care?
£1,000, please.
Would you care to come into? It was only from TK Maxx, but
yeah, but they didn't know that, though, did they?
Well, no, they didn't. And but they invited us into the cloakroom to look for it. I mean,
you know why? They probably didn't want to touch it. It's probably beneath them. They're like,
it's a nice coat. I'll tell you what, looking at the other coats in there as we shuffled through.
Because they saw the tag in the back and they're like, I'm not touching it.
I thought most of them were pretty shabby. I mean, it looked like a flaming, what do you call it, Oxfam shop. Sorry, Oxfam, but it looked as though they'd been well worn. But the food in there, I was very disappointed. So the sandwiches were dry at the edges and
like they'd been hanging around for a while.
And to be quite honest, the tea was awful.
Really?
Yes, it was like having a cup of tea in Spain. When you're abroad, you can never do tea the same way. I don't know whether you appreciate this, folks, but if you ever go on holiday and you ask for a cup of tea, no matter where it is, it usually ends up being Lipton's.
Got to go to Japan or China.
Lipton's tea bag.
Japan makes good tea. They know tea. You've been going to the wrong places. If you're going to have a tea, go to Japan.
So I'll go all the way to Japan for a cup of tea.
Yeah, but a really good tea.
Oh. How to make a change?
Well,
because it's pretty dire. So anyway, So there we go. That was my 60th birthday. Disappointment in Fortnum's. So you do a lot of shopping in Fortnum's, do you?
No, but I have been in there, and if you
Oh.
go to the food court place, it's actually quite nice.
The food hall. Yeah, it is quite. Yeah.
It's not that you go for a day. I'm not saying you go there for a weekly shop, but like a once in a while to find some nice bits. It's a place to go. Like Whole Foods in Kensington. That place is incredible. You're not going to do your shop because it's going to cost you like a fortune.
Oh,
But you can pick out a bit here and there, and you'll find some nice little things.
right.
Like I said, not all the time. Once in a while.
You've got to tell me
It's a treat.
you've never been in a Lidl's or an Aldi.
I've been to an Aldi.
Have you? I actually prefer. Sorry, folks. I prefer Lidl to Aldi.
Never done a Lidl's. I've never done an Asda, and that's not true. I have done an Asda.
Don't like Asda.
Done an Asda, and I've done an Aldi. Never done a Lidl's.
Right.
And I've never done a Tesco, like a big one. Because we've got Tesco Express close by, but we don't have like a Tesco super mega store thing.
No.
Used to do Sainsbury's.
Yeah.
Me and my mum used to go Sainsbury's all the time.
Right.
When it was up the road, and then it shut down.
Got you. Oh.
I found a £50 note in Sainsbury's.
Really?
When I was small. Right by the till.
Did you hand it in?
No.
Well, I don't blame you.
I put it in my pocket and I showed my mum, and my mum was like, I can't believe you did that, but we'll keep it.
Well, you can't really say, has anybody dropped a £50 note?
Like,
because you'd have a bigger queue
yeah.
than what's standing outside of Westminster Hall waiting to look at the Queen's coffin. Because they'd all go, it's mine. Well, how do you know it's yours? It's got a picture of the Queen's head on it.
What would you do?
What would I do?
If there was a £50 note and you put it right by the Queen's coffin?
What, you mean watched people?
Yeah. It's like a sociological experiment. To put a £50 note right on the floor next to the Queen's coffin.
Well, you've reminded me of a little anecdote. So,
what would happen? Would there be a stampede?
Probably. I'll go slightly off track. I remember a wonderful skit. To all of those who remember the comedian Dave Allen. Do you remember Dave Allen? Had half a finger missing on one hand.
Why would I remember?
Irish comedian.
For some reason, I remember his hair.
Dark hair.
He had like...
Yes, and he used to do little sketches and sit on a stool and tell jokes, but tell stories, but then it'd be interspersed with sketches. And there was one sketch talking about where there was he's walking down the street and he sees this car, and under the wheel of this car he sees like a £10 note. And you see him sort of looking around and trying to sort of see if he can get the £10 note from under the wheel, but clearly not. So then he looks across and he goes, So he goes into this cafe and sits relatively near the window, and he's watching as he's having his tea, watching. And eventually the driver comes back and gets in the car, and the whole cafe rushes to the door. So I guess that's kind of what would happen. So yes, if I'd have found the £50 note, I'd have kept it too, because every dog and his neighbour,
yeah, exactly, do the same thing.
would do exactly the same thing. But there you go. So we have, we're obviously all this is going on. We've got an absentia Prime Minister. I see there's talk now of another large rate rise for base rate interest rates.
It probably won't be quite as high as expected, because I mean, the ECB increased their rates by 0.75%
in one go.
To 1.25%.
Yes.
And a lot of people were commenting that was probably too much too quickly.
Yes.
So the likelihood that we do something similar is unlikely. We might do 0.25% or 0.5%, but
we've already done how many?
No, yeah.
Yes.
But it will be this continual every quarter, a bit more.
But doesn't that kind of throw a curveball to Liz Truss's policy of tax cuts and trying to sort of deal with the cost of living crisis and all her claims that how she's going to sort it out. And the argument that was presented during the campaign, but largely I think by Rishi Sunak,
But she doesn't
that
care.
this will drive interest rates up even harder.
Yeah, but she
and
doesn't
make things worse.
She probably knows that she won't be able to survive past 2024. So if she increases the debt burden past 2024, it's no longer a problem.
Great.
So this is this
attitude, eh?
But so this is sort of passing the buck down the line.
Yeah.
It's like we'll try to resolve the short-term issues now.
Yes.
With a debt burden that will have to be resolved past 2024. By which point she probably won't be Prime Minister anymore, and it will be for someone else to deal with.
Right.
So we could end up, we're already 120 billion further down the hole than we were.
It's just numbers now, isn't it?
It's just numbers, right? It doesn't really matter. 120, 200, 250, 300. Ultimately, who cares? We'll pass it down the line, and then there'll be another period of austerity when things improve, where everything gets cut back to try and reduce the debt burden again.
But they can't. There's nothing they can cut back.
It's like a constant sort of loop going backwards and
There's
forwards.
nothing they can cut back if you think about it. It's already down to the bone. I mean, I visited the hospital yesterday, and I've noticed over the past few years, notwithstanding the issue with COVID, but just since progressively since the Tories took office in 2010, that things have steadily got worse in terms of the NHS. They're not just the efficiency, every kind of little. I mean, the last 5 appointments between me and my partner have been messed up in some way or other. I mean, they sent me a text on Monday to say, to remind me of my appointment for Tuesday. Do not come to the clinic. It is a telephone appointment, blah, 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 blah. So I thought, well, that's weird. So I rang the department up, the particular department up, and it was a mistake. It was a face-to-face. And if I'd have taken that as thing, I could have been sitting here at 9:30 on Tuesday morning, rubbing my hands together for a telephone appointment. The last time my partner had a hospital appointment, they did something similar. With him, it was a telephone appointment, and they never called him, and then had the audacity, which is something I brought up. To claim they had. So they lied on top of it.
Yeah, but it probably shows
which I found really repugnant.
They didn't lie. It probably shows on the system that it was done. The problem is, it's the system, it's the actual computer system, which is so old and inept, and they spent such a huge amount of money on it. But it's not fit for purpose. But the problem is, it's an automated system.
It's not automated.
No, it is. It is. Somebody inputs the appointment in,
yes.
But when it comes to actually sending out the message or reminding whatever consultant or GP, whoever it was, to make the call.
No, this doctor claimed he made the call twice. Twice he actually claimed, because it was raised and the doctor said, oh no, I made the call.
Oh,
so in other words, there was an absolute out and out lie. And
so he did lie.
And I fronted them. We fronted them with it because I found that appalling. I said, look, I know the NHS is under pressure and so forth. We appreciate that. But, if you make a mistake, fucking well own it. Sorry, we made a dreadful mistake. We must have tried to dial the wrong number or done this or done that. Our fault.
We'll call you next
Apologies, etc., etc. No, they tried to put it onto us. And that I find really unacceptable. But, so I can't see with the way things are. The NHS needs more funding, not less. I can't see the police. Well, we cut them back by God knows how many tens of thousands. Only now for the last Prime Minister to say he's going to increase it by 20,000, which is still 3,000 short of what it was in 2010. So we're just going sort of like this, up and down. It's like, well, for fuck's sake, it'd have been cheaper to have kept them on instead of having to retrain or train 20,000 new ones. It just doesn't seem to me that, here we go, you see, myself in 61 years. In the last 40 odd years that I can ever remember this country doing anything different other than dealing with things arse about face. It's government, the country is run a little bit like the local councils run their highways department. They come along, they put fresh tarmac all over a road so they can spend all their budget before the end of the tax year. And then merrily, because they don't have any dialogue with any other service providers, the gas board, the water board, the optical fibre people and everybody else comes along a month later and digs it all up again, relentlessly, until 1 year has passed and the road looks worse than it did before they tarmacked it. It seems to me to be, we've never learnt.
This is just the way it's done, though.
The country goes round in this huge cycle of bollocks, and it's no different now, except now, of course, we've got a new king. And everybody can duck for cover because it gives them an extra week off if you're an official. While there's this national hubris over the Queen's death. So, that desert island is looking more and more tempting. What do you reckon?
Don't disagree.
Well, there we have it, folks. Yes. There's my bit of self-indulgence for being 61.
That was the most depressing happy birthday podcast we could have done, but this is where we find ourselves.
But the croissants were good, and I'm dying to look at these cakes. Are we allowed to say where they've come from? No. They do look nice. They look like something off Bake Off the Professionals. But I guess you don't watch Bake Off, do you? Do you watch Bake Off?
No.
So you don't know what you're missing. Paul Hollywood.
Don't like the look of him.
You don't like the look of him. I don't know. What's wrong with him?
I don't know. I just don't like the look of him, so I don't want to watch him.
Oh. Poor man. Sorry, Paul.
Sorry, Paul.
I thought he's quite good. I thought you'd like that, being an avid baker.
I like baking. I don't like the show.
You don't like watching the show. Interesting enough, as a side before we leave, I think most people actually watch the show because they like the show, but can't be asked to bake. And it kind of fills that desire looking at the food. Seeing other people bake it.
Doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't make any sense, but that is reality. People watch cooking programs,
it's like porn.
but don't cook. Elaborate, sir.
It's like porn.
Cooking is like porn. Come on.
Watching cooking is like watching porn. So you say people get enjoyment not from baking, but watching other people bake. So I'm assuming porn is the same. People enjoy watching porn. I guess yes, they do.
Yeah, but you're not having a wank while the cake's in the oven.
Maybe they are.
Makes the frosting interesting.
But right, isn't that the same kind of?
It's
the same kind of logic, isn't it?
What? And not have sex? They just watch the porn.
Yeah.
You know.
I'm not saying I understand the mind of everyone. I'm saying there must be a similarity between enjoying baking and watching a baking program to enjoying sex and then watching sex on TV or on your computer, whatever it might be.
Yes, but
there's a comparable there, isn't there?
Well, I don't see how. Because if you watch porn, surely it doesn't mean that you don't have sex. But if you watch baking programs, it doesn't mean that you're going in the kitchen and baking up.
I think I read somewhere
a Danish.
I think I read somewhere that that men between 20 to 35, a third of them are not having regular sex at all, and it's becoming a real social issue.
Got you. That's why they're fucking watching Bake Off to keep their mind off it.
But this is a big social issue. That sort of the
only buns they're going to get to handle.
No, but like the rise of all of these online hookup sites and things like that.
Right.
It's sort of women will go for the best of the best men on these sites, which leaves everyone else in limbo. So a smaller pool of men are getting the majority of the women, because the majority of the women are only looking at the top 10% of the men. So the top 10% of men are getting all the sex, and then 90% of everyone else
is getting
absolutely nothing, because they're just being completely looked over, because they're not the sort of the 6 foot tall, wealthy, six-pack looking person, and they're getting all of it. And then the rest of society is watching Bake Off and porn instead, because they don't get the enjoyment of actually having an actual partner. This is a subject for another day, but it's an interesting paradigm. Like, men are becoming sad and lonely, women are becoming sad and lonely too, because a lot of women think that they're capable of getting that 10%, that top 10% male, when actually they're average at best, and they should be looking more within their pool of resources, let's call it. And so women are lonely, men are lonely, and the top 5% of men are having a good time. But apart from that,
yeah, but I suppose where the analogy with Bake Off comes, you don't have to just watch the program. You can go to the bakery and buy something. Hey, surely you can.
Yeah, you can make a phone call.
You can make a phone call and get Uber to deliver it.
I'm sure a lot of men are going down that route, paying for services, for example.
Yeah.
If they can't have a long-term relationship of sorts.
Maybe I should start a company for delivering sex and call it Deliverer. Ooh.
Simon will be in jail soon enough if that's the case.
Yeah. Is this true?
Well,
I mean, obviously,
we can research it and we'll do a podcast.
I'm a happily married. So we're going to our next program, folks, is all about sex.
The sexless generation.
The sexless. Would you describe the sexless? People are having less sex.
We'll research it and we'll do a show about it. It's definitely an issue.
Yeah. Surely, if people are having less sex, why have we got issues that like monkeypox and STDs and whatever? So it seems to me they're playing catch up after COVID. Surely, after years of isolation.
No, because it meant
relentless repeats of Bake Off.
No, but it's even worse though, because of COVID, people have become less
Bake Off, more
No, but they're becoming less socially attuned to each other.
Yeah, well, I agree, but this is what social media has done, of course.
But also lockdown has forced people away from each other, which makes it more difficult after such a long time to bring people back together. Which is why things like social media have become much more prevalent over the course of the past few years.
Well,
people are looking for connections,
before COVID,
but they're not willing. But they're not communicating one to one, face to face. They're doing it online.
Well, that's been happening, I think, over a period of years.
Yeah, but
I find it lamentable. because I feel disconnected to most of the people I know, because they no longer ring you up on the phone. They don't. In the old days, at least they'd send you an email or send you a text. Now you don't even get that. You don't even get a hi on Facebook anymore. It's becoming more and more and more.
Put it this way:
insular.
We could do a podcast, and I could do it from home.
Yes.
And we could just link up online.
Yeah, that'd be awful.
But we could do, and we could maintain that distance.
Yeah.
But instead, we choose to come together once a week to do these.
Yes.
To do these podcasts.
But what you're saying is,
I mean, the
very few people are coming together.
but the technology is there where we would never have to see each other if we didn't want to, and we could still do this podcast.
But
as
then,
is. But
ladies and gentlemen, we wouldn't. Can we at least show these splendid cakes?
You're gonna have to get close to the camera.
Yeah, but
the camera's over there. You're going to end up flipping it all on the floor.
Want to. There we go. Look at that. Look at those splendid cakes.
Get right in there.
There we go. For those of you in black and white, the yellow cake,
mango and passion fruit cheesecake,
and this is a nice little chocolate number, isn't it?
A chocolatier.
You see, this is the point.
We need to
People need to spend time together. Anyway, let's wrap it up.
Bye.
I'm off. Got a birthday to celebrate. Ciao for now.